welcome back to the court of the whatever it is, the Wenton King. The Wenton King. Yes, apologies for not being on last week. Sorry, unavoidable. It was just one of those things. It's interesting that, of course, once we posted a video called "Sorry No Video This Week," there's loads of videos called "Sorry No Video This Week."
Yeah.
So yeah, we do music reviews, don't we? We review music.
Yeah.
And today we're reviewing this one. Do you know what it is? You do because it's in the description, but yes. Haken, the Mountain. We thought this was worth doing after Gentle Giant. It would make sense because it's what they call neo-prog. The neo-prog genre, which isn't progressive because it's sounding like all those old bands. Retrogressive. Which doesn't really matter because good music is good music, isn't it? That's the thing. So this whole review for me is going to be listing bands, basically. This sounds like this band and this sounds like this band, and that's what you do with neo-prog. Which belittles it because it's great and they are their own musicians. They're not just copying other people. They are a great band. As I said, I think I've already said this, that Dream Theater are Yes meets Metallica, almost literally. I mean, that is exactly what they're doing. Haken is kind of Gentle Giant meets Metallica. So you've got the heavy dun, 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 which is called gent with a DJ.
Oh, right, is it?
It's a really common term. Somehow it had passed me by. I've only just within the last few weeks discovered it. Gent, the gent. What's it? Gent.
Gent.
That's all the. So it's Gentle Giant with. It's a lot simpler than Gentle Giant, so consequently more accessible, more obviously emotionally engaging. I don't mean in a shallow way. I mean it's obviously emotional. Whereas Gentle Giant, it seems like random things sometimes. If you see what I mean. Mostly, I think it sounds like anybody. It sounds like Spock's Beard. It's a lot like Spock's Beard, but kind of a 7 string or an 8 string Spock's Beard. So lots of. So a little bit Dream Theater, but I say Spock's Beard over Dream Theater because particularly the drumming. It doesn't sound like Mike Portnoy, who is an on-the-beat rock drummer like Cozy Powell. But Nick De Virgilio, is that how you say it? I don't know if that's how you say it.
Yeah.
The guy who was in Spock's Beard, he's more kind of Latino. There's a Latino thing to it, and that's a big element of the sound of this, which makes it more exciting than on-the-beat stuff. So I prefer that type of drumming. Swingy drumming, but with a Latino kind of thing going on. Very, very dynamic. And you've got the humour of Gentle Giant in there, and the chord changes and things, the big keyboardy sound of Spock's Beard, and the big epicness, and very melodic and sweeping and all that stuff, and uplifting and that kind of stuff. Little bits of King Crimson-y stuff in there, not a lot, so when it comes it's kind of a cool thing. Maybe not as good as songwriters as Gentle Giant. Maybe not as good as songwriters as Spock's Beard. I mean, early Spock's Beard, really. I mean, they haven't got Neil Morse. That's not really criticism. It's just a slightly different type of thing. It's not quite a songwritery thing. But there's other vibes in there as well, and there is a Porcupine Tree, Stephen Wilson melancholy to it, isn't there? Which isn't in Spock's Beard. And you could maybe, at a stretch, you could trace the lineage back to Radiohead. Maybe.
I would say, yeah, maybe more. If you're going to try and find sort of like a popular linkage, maybe more Muse than Radiohead.
Yeah, there is a museness, and the vocals as well. They're not falsetto, but they're kind of stuff. So yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, you've taken the lid off the can of worms of neo-prog and sort of opened that up for debate. Yeah, neo-prog's a problem because on the whole it's pretty boring. I think what has happened here, I mean, this is their third album, yeah? I mean, if they were going to do anything, this was the album they were going to do it on, and I think they've actually achieved it.
Yeah.
Because the first couple of albums I've listened to, and it definitely, you get that neo-prog vibe where it's just a case of trying to sound proggy.
Yeah.
And therefore becomes very formulaic.
Yeah.
Now to transcend that, people like Stephen Wilson, because obviously, the Raven has very strong prog heritage, but it doesn't sound neo-proggy for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think what it is Stephen Wilson is using the sort of the prog, the existing prog tropes as sort of like his artist tools, his different brushes, and sort of to paint the emotion that he's going for and the feeling he's going for and the vibe he's going for, rather than just trying to do a prog album. He's sort of looking at this is what I want this song to be. What can I pull and what can I use and what can I bring to it to make it sound like that? And I think Haken are sort of on the way there with this album. It's very, very good in some places.
Yeah.
It actually feels. I think songwriting was a major issue up until this album, and there are some actual good songs on here.
Yeah, there are. Yeah. A bit too long, I think. Slightly too long. Only a minor gripe, but I think it should be a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
60 minutes. It should be 50 minutes. I think.
Yeah. Make it a proper. A proper.
You can say that about just about any album.
I think there is a loose concept in there. I think it's to do with the fall. I've not really looked into it that much, which is strange because that's kind of
climbing the mountain of life, isn't it?
Well, I actually think there's one track on there, and it's about Lucifer's fall from heaven. And the mountain. I could be completely wrong here. Sort of like in Dante's Inferno, when they get to the bottom of hell, Satan's there, and the way it's constructed is where Satan fell from heaven, he landed in the earth. And the crater that he created popped out the other side of the earth and created the mountain that they climb through when they get through hell.
Oh, really?
Up to heaven, yeah. I think that may be a reference. I could be wrong. I hope that is a reference because it sort of evokes Paradise Lost and Dante's The Divine Comedy and stuff like that, which is excellent stuff for proggy concept album.
That's the step they made, really, isn't it? That kind of thing. And the thing I said that it's about the mountain of life, and they're trying to grasp onto something human, which is really good. There's something about their early albums I like. There's not as many instruments on this. There's a lot more gent and just keyboard, just piano and voice gent bit than accordion starts, or And I like that kind of thing, but it wouldn't work in this context of the profound stuff.
It can be very easy for a modern sort of prog band with all the equipment that's available to people relatively cheaply to listen to something like King Crimson, Lark's Tongue and Aspect, hear violins working really well and think, that's what you've got to do to make a really clever album.
Yeah,
stick some random instruments on there. And ultimately that's quite a thin listening experience, once you got past that, that's strange, there's not a lot there.
Yes, often. Bands like IQ and all that stuff.
So I think we quite like this one.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
I think they're still quite small. End of last year, they were touring and they ended up in the Robin 2.
Yeah.
In Wolverhampton, which suggests
I mean, actually, you can make money now doing that. That's the thing. They're on in Prog magazine and they're on the Inside Out label and all that kind of stuff. So they're supported by that particular band of fans of music. Whereas 20 years ago, they wouldn't have had any chance at all of doing anything. They could have toured clubs part-time.
Well, they've got to do the Dream Theatre thing and just keep working at it, I think, if they're going to become... Because they potentially are.
I'm sure they're making a lot of money right now, because they're selling globally, not just in the UK. Song number 1, The Path. Go on.
I think it's the weakest track on the album, and a real strange one to open with. It's quite...
Oh, okay.
It's quite soft, I think. It's sort of... Maybe you want to go in full bore, and it's kind of a gentle introduction to the album.
See, that's interesting. I think the opposite, and it sets up the melancholy, so that when the band kicks in, you've got the juxtaposition, and that works fantastically. Because the second song is Atlas Stone, and that does kick in. Real staccato riff, very, very Spock's Beardy kind of stuff. A bit of it reminds me of Gates of Delirium. There's a sort of dung 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 like the middle of Gates of Delirium. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. So we're talking about track 2, Atlas Stone.
Yeah.
That's right. This is one of the big songs on the album. I think the big songs actually work quite well. There's nothing sort of on there that I don't like, although you've mentioned the length. I think individually the big songs work really well.
Yeah.
It's interesting rhythms and good arrangement. The arrangements are really good on this, actually.
Yeah.
I really love the keyboard player is quite good, and he manages to find interesting things to do in the mix without
Wakeman.
Yeah, without Wakemanizing, which is good stuff.
Yeah. I think it's the last 2 minutes of that track. Actually, I think it's the best bit. It's some playing.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think they've quite got the Neil Morse songwriter thing, but that makes up for it. Track 3.
Cockroach King.
Yeah. This is the single. There aren't a single. It's the focus track. There aren't singles anymore. And there's a video to it, and it is great. Very, very gentle, jaunty. think Gentle Giant, very much so, with multi-part vocals and all that stuff. It's humorous and just great.
Yeah, I mean, you should really, if you haven't seen it, do a search on YouTube because the video is really good. It's obviously done on a budget, and really creative because it's sort of, that was the thing that, but I saw that video and I thought I'm going to watch that, and that was sort of like a great introduction to the band.
Yeah. I mean, it's, well, we might as well explain what it is. I mean, it's Muppets doing Bohemian Rhapsody kind of stuff, and Muppets playing the instruments and all that stuff, which is really clever because some people will watch it and think, oh yeah, they're a bit like Queen, even though they're not anything like Queen. I think someone who's not heard any prog, they certainly wouldn't have heard of Gentle Giant. They'll think, oh yeah, harmonies, that's Queen. So I like Queen, so I'll buy that. Oh, very, very clever, and a brilliant video and a brilliant song.
Yeah, thumbs up. Mm-hmm. Track 4, In Memoriam.
In Memoriam. Very heavy. Spock's Beard meets Porcupine Tree.
Okay. Track 5?
Yeah, track 5. Because it's there. That's the mountain, obviously. Oh yeah, there's a whole load of a cappella monk chanting. I was trying to think what to call it. I didn't want to call it monk chanting, but monk chanting sounds like a Tyr, the Viking band Tyr. You should listen to those, guys. But I like the very first bit, but it's auto-tuned, so it sounds like a keyboard, and that spoils it for me. And if they'd just done it a cappella, it doesn't need to be perfect. It would have sounded wonderful. But there is some great playing after that as well. Yeah. So still a good track.
Is this the one? Yeah, good stuff. Track 6.
Yeah, track 6. Falling back to earth. Oh, maybe they've climbed the mountain and now they come back down again. Oh no! Or maybe it's what you suggested. Heavy Dream Theater-y 7-string or 8-string, dun 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 dun. Wonderful groove in the verses and some fantastic drumming on this one. And it's all about the juxtaposition, isn't it, with prog? You've got the really heavy stuff going on, and then melodic, and it's the jump between the two is wonderful.
I think this is where I picked up the Saint falling from heaven thing. There's a bit where it goes, the melodic bit.
Yeah.
Picks up and you can feel him almost falling backwards into the ocean. Yeah. Which is sort of painful. It's a really, really good moment. It's like the high point of the album. It's like that occurs almost at the midpoint.
Yeah.
It's not quite the midpoint, and it's like the highest point of the album.
Yeah.
But it's a real low movement, if you know what I mean. It's very melancholic,
dark,
and very slow. Yeah. So there's almost an inverseness to it. Very clever.
Yeah. Yeah. In the position on the album, that works fantastically.
Yeah.
Track 7.
As Death Embraces.
Death Embraces. Bleak ballad, obligatory. Vibe of loss, vibe of autumn, that kind of thing. Sounds like mostly autumn in vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, not too bad.
Track number 8, please.
Pareidolia, is it? Pareidolia.
Pareidolia. Yes, we knew what that meant. This is the obligatory harmonic minor-y, Indian sounding heavy, 10-minute playing epic stuff. Brilliant.
Yeah, it is very, very good. Another epic. It doesn't finish off the album.
And in fact it could.
Yeah.
But there's another song, Track 9, which is a really good song as well, Somebody. There is... I was humming Fade Out by Radiohead to this. That's unfair. It's not fair to do that, but it is there. That sound thing, it's almost Diary of a Madman by Ozzy. It's the same sort of thing, so, but yeah, and it is brilliant. And obviously, whereas Fade Out is just one thing, it's not really a song. This is a complete piece of music, obviously, so therefore better.
Yeah. Yeah, it finishes really strong. And it's generally strong throughout. It's hard to know where you could cut the 10 minutes from. Maybe you'd have to shave a little bit off each track, but yeah.
And buy it. Remember, there's certain things you should buy to fact that actually funds a band if you buy that. And
they're a band worth funding. I think there's been an EP since this. But obviously, we review albums. We don't review EPs.
Yeah.
I think EPs may be the way to go for bands. I don't know because relatively short production time.
Yeah, and they'll probably sell the same amount.
Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah, definitely give that a go. Very good. How many eggs, Kev?
Really difficult. 5 seems excessive. I mean, Raven Refused to Sing was 5, and I don't like this quite as much as that. But 4 seems ever so harsh for such a great album.
Yeah. 4's like an average mark.
Yeah,
It's
so
definitely above average.
I think it has to be a 5. Maybe it's a lowish 5, but it's definitely a 5.
Yeah, I agree. There you go.
Join us next week for a new band. We're not entirely sure what it is, so I'm not going to tell you once again. Yeah. See you next time!
Give us some likes, subscribe and all that jazz.
Yes.
Well, thanks for watching the podcast.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Sorry.